Rafram, it's nice to see you again. Thanks for accepting this invitation for the artist talks of Colombo Americano.
I think it's first of all, it's a privileged work. I think it's a very privileged work to make art. I mean, you have the ability to show things to people. Imagine you are a lawyer, okay, or you're an accountant, or you work in a factory, and you produce a bottle. Can you put it somewhere and people see it? You cannot do that. I mean, you cannot have a paper you made. This kind of thing that we have a space that people come and visit and see it. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of like a significant work that we are having a stage to put our stuff. And in contemporary art, it's basically everything. You can put, this joke about the trash in the museum. In the museum, that the cleaning lady wants to clean the trash, but it's an artwork.
Yes.
And this kind of stuff that we have this privilege of and as I see it, this is like something that have to do also with what my life is. If I see my family and the traditions and stuff like that, and do like a pause of that and take it out from the context of family, of tradition, and make it maybe some adjustments, and then put it on the wall and say, look. And this is the action, I think, that we do. We say, look, have a look.
Yeah, but it is a privilege. It is, it's very interesting what you were saying. And yesterday I was talking with Nico and Julie, who is an artist from Italy. And he has this research on labor and how art can comment on the current state of labor in the world. So one of the things that he was saying, we were talking about, it was our grandparents, they were working in the mine or really hard on the field and stuff. The grandfather is working in the farm or something like that. Then the father is working in the factory, and then the son could do some engineering or something like that, and then the son could study something like art or philosophy or it is this chain of gaining some privilege. But at the same time, if you take out every skills and materials condition to the artist, what is left is the voice of the artist. So, for the farmer, the minimum to survive is their hands. For the artist is the voice. So I understand this condition of privilege is something that is beyond getting food out of the land or of the soil.
Yeah, it's like being exist also. We talk about fathers and grandfathers. Now I'm this exhibition next week that is the watches, the hand watches of my father.
Yes.
My father is a watchmaker. My father is a watchmaker, and I took all the watches we couldn't fix. That is basically opposite. I think his failure basically. Yeah. And transform it to a piece, to a carpet, basically. Mm-hmm. That is basically putting a focus on my father, but maybe not in a good way, but also in a way that, because he, as a watchmaker, he see everyday watches of clients.
Yeah.
He see many people, he see many faces.
Yeah.
He see different kind of clocks. He can recognize a rich clock. He can recognize a rich person by the money, by everything. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't have the privilege to stop and look at that. Like we do. He doesn't say, okay, this is interesting. I guess what kind of watch this lady have. He can guess it because that's his life for 40 years. He's doing that, but he doesn't have the privilege to, like we have, basically to have a look and freeze it for a minute, and even get paid for that.
Yeah.
We can sell a piece. We can even sell the failure. The watches he couldn't fix, we can sell it.
Yeah.
Because of story or because we are storytellers.
But that's one of the tricky things, because it's, art, the real art written with capital letters, it goes beyond money. It shouldn't be captured or caught by markets. But
Yes.
of course, markets, I mean, they are all around.
Also sustain
It's
it, and
not
also,
possible, yeah, for us it's not possible as a civilization. We don't have other way to understand, growth or
Yeah.
development.
Yeah, what happened to me, like usually, like I don't really work in the commercial world of art. I'm not working with. There's distinction. I studied in Germany a lot. In Germany, it's very known that you have a structure called Kunsthalle, like a city gallery, basically, that is public space. That the artists who show there, they show there not because they are found by the collectors, but they are by the curator.
Yeah.
It's very similar to the king, the monarch in the old times, that the next king will be his kid, okay? But he's not going to be chosen by the people. So the money is choosing the next king and not the people, basically. So it's very similar in art. Is who is choosing the next one. So in a Kunsthalle you have curators, and that's a curatorial work. It's not like commercial work, because we know this guy is Jeff Koons is going to sell the piece. We know he's going to sell the piece because it's popular, because everything, all the reasons wrong. But it's nothing connected to what we need to see now, what is important to see. It's not about that. So this kind of like division between, and it's very exist also in place where like I live in Tunis, which is like a bit of third world country. It's a bit like, not very commercial center. So that's why most of the scene here is commercial, because they need to sell. And also it's exotic touristic destination. So people come here, like foreigners, and they come to galleries to buy paintings to the living room. And the painting cannot be like a crying baby. It cannot be like a critical photography or some installation.
It has to be something attractive and beautiful.
It can be beautiful, but beautiful. That's the beautiful and pleasant, because people, it's the living room. And this exoticism, I saw it also in Marrakesh now. Marrakesh is one of the most touristic places in the world. And it is a struggle of the local artists to do something that is meaningful to world, and not to some kind of bourgeois people who wants to buy art to decorate their houses. And when people come to Marrakesh, don't expect to see something critical. They expect to see something exotic.
Yeah.
Because
that's how market works. It's demand and offer.
So this is something that is very interesting also when I see it all the time. I'm like always trying to understand Tunis, what's happening here, because I'm here 5 years ago. So I'm like trying to understand in front of Germany, in front of like, let's say, European art scene, how it's, what's my job here? I mean, should I be like more critical or less, or be more with the art scene, or be more decorator or whatever?
Yeah. That's always these doubts around what we do as an artist, or what art should be doing, because there is this meme about what you were saying, like if you are poor, then you draw figuratively, then you have a hyper realism or something like that.
I think in a funny way it was before art school even. It was like before I started art school, I met friends. We had a bar in Jerusalem, and we decided to start a group that's going to make kind of actions in the street. And there were musicians there, and there were like two artists, and there was like a sociologist, and there was me, which I didn't know exactly who I am and what I'm going to do. I didn't know I'm going to go to art school. It was completely far away from everything I knew, because I don't come from a family of artists. I come from like, we're immigrants. We came from Tunis to Jerusalem. We are still like, my father wants me to be a guard in the mall, in the shopping mall. He wants me to get a salary, to be normal, to get family. That's what he wants me to do. That is like, to make art is like complete opposite of that. And we did all kinds of like performances and things that I didn't know exist even. I was really not part of this. I didn't see art when I was young. I didn't see anything. I knew Picasso. I knew Van Gogh.
Not that art that we know now.
No, we know the famous name that everyone know, and of course I knew all this Renaissance stuff, but I didn't know anything about critical thinking, about anything that is, and we did kind of like events there, all kinds of events and demonstrations that are a bit creative, let's say. And I was drawn to that a bit. And then I started to understand, I mean, started to read, I started to ask friends. And then my circle, it's about like the circle, also the people around you who are like pushing you. And then I went to some art school to see in Jerusalem a few art schools, and I was drawn to one art school that was very, let's say, alternative, and it was very attracting to me to be an alternative art school in a very interesting neighborhood close to the east side, Palestinian side, and with a really interesting history of activism. And so I think then, I mean, you start to make all kinds of exercises about artworks in the art school. Like you make drawings, and then they give you exercise to make a piece about love, about history, about fact. And then it's time, you know, this kind of like more formulated artworks were started. But it's all started basically in outside before the art school. Art school basically give you in a way.
So in that moment, you are saying that maybe your first artwork started there.
Yeah, in the performative events, let's say.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Do you have pictures of that?
I think so.
Oh, really?
We did the demonstrations. It was a funny demonstrations to reinstate the British mandate. To say that if we occupy already, why we don't be better to be occupied than occupier?
Of course.
And we can also play soccer in the British Premier League. I mean, that was we made all kinds of funny stuff. We want 007 to be our spy, not, this kind of.
And how old were you when?
I was 22.
No, already a grown old man.
Yeah, stupid, but I mean, yeah, grown up.
Good. All right. And
it's a bit later than most people I know.
Nowadays, are you doing a project now, like right now? Well, you were telling me that you were exhibiting somewhere, but do you have a new project to work on?
Yeah, this exhibition is like it's an old piece. This watch thing is an old piece.
Yeah, we saw it in the labs when you were in the.
Yeah. This is with Artsy and Artist. It's quite a big exhibition.
Yeah.
I'm working now a lot on something called sifshari. Sifshari is a cloth that our grandmothers used to wear. It's like it looks like sari, like Indian sari.
Okay.
And the origin is from India, basically. It's called sifshari.
Yeah.
And it's like a bit of a feminist walk. It's a bit talking about our mothers as the real craft women in the family, basically, that were working in the kitchen for hours on hours, and even if they were sick, they couldn't say they were sick because they would be replaced by the chauvinist patriarchal society, and they get lots of diseases in the legs and stuff like that because of that. And there's a photo from the 50s and from the 20s that I found that of like my grandmother and her sister and my mother, all of them standing with sifshari. Like standing. And I was now in South Morocco in a research trip, and I saw like all the women like washing clothes on the rivers, on the mountains, and they hang it on the trees also. And I'm starting to work on this kind of like series of photography of sifshari on trees, basically. Part of like I'm here, but I'm covered, and I'm working on some textile pieces about it, and some also mosaic, or basically constructing the sifshari. It's like quite a big project. I'm starting to work on representations of this fabric and also what's behind it.
Interesting, and how we used to represent women, and how women is being misrepresented all the time with all this labor that
the whole labor we talked about all the time. It's like the real labor. Because I have a friend here. She had some problems in her legs. But she's an artist. But then we talked about her mother, that her mother also was sick with that, but she didn't say it to her husband because she was afraid to be replaced. And then you have the grandmother, and then you have the grandmother, and then you feel that this kind of thing, this like genetical information that passes all the time, that you don't complain, that also physically you are transferring the pain to your. And this is something that even if you are an artist, you have the problem. The legs, because nobody treated that, and this is something astonishing.
Wow.
And I started to have this kind of like craft as also when I work with food, for example. This is connected to my mother craft, basically, which is part of like many dishes in Tunisia are made like slowly for hours because they wanted to keep the woman in the kitchen instead of like making fast. You work for hours for many dishes here. And it's like labor, and this is something also because it's like you have a free employee in the house basically.
Yeah, and that's pretty much related with capital and property, because it's like men, they were like trying to get the most of the time for they to go out and to do the public job, to be and to conquer lands and to buy things and make business and stuff, and women were just having the rest of the things that daily life needs to be done.
And they moved. They were property of the father, and then they moved to the property of the husband. There was never something in the middle. And if there was something in the middle, you would be like a prostitute. Also in Colombia.
Which is terrible.
Also in Colombia.
Also in many cultures.
I read it in Colombia.
It's even Western society and even, I don't know, or Eastern even. Everywhere.
You always have an owner, basically, and this is like a slavery, basically. It's
slavery.
You don't get paid for that.
It is.
And you make kids, you make the next generations. And this is something. The sari, also the sefshari, is like hiding also your body. It's like completely putting you in like a kind of a uniform.
And well, Rafram, last question: if you were not an artist, what would you be?
That's always a very, very hard question to answer because art is not like another profession. Like it's not like a normal profession. It's not like
I would be a taxi driver.
You would be a taxi driver?
Yes. I will like a kind of residency inside a taxi and then inside a cab, so I will know every corner and every dark corner in the city, and I will draw it or I will do pieces about it.
I don't know how to drive. I don't have a license because I'm dreaming all the time. When I walk, sometimes I run into walls. I cannot drive. I'll die in 5 seconds. Yes, I would operate a small boat to smuggle people between continents for sure.
Like a coyote, we call it.
And I would be like making also like coming to cities. I bring stuff, I take stuff, this kind of stuff, exchanging stuff. And it's similar to what I do now.
Nice.